So, hello and welcome, everybody, to our second Agile Bratislava meetup with a guest speaker. My name is Marian Schwarz. I will be your host today, together with Radoslav Cinglansky and Tom Sheduk. The three of us are actually on a mission to help build a community around Agile in Bratislava. Fun fact is this group was started by Phil a couple of years ago, and when there was an opportunity to take and rebrand it, reinitiate the initiative, I decided to take it on. So very happy that Phil is here and coming back home.
Yes. But Marian, you've done a much better job than me. So, because I don't think we had so many people when we started it. So this is really good. You have a bigger crowd. Very good.
Yeah, thanks. Before we start, let me just quickly touch base on the agenda. What is ahead of us? We will start. We already started recording. I hope everybody is fine with that. We want to take the recording, share it using our YouTube channel with other people who are interested to watch it. We will start with Phil and his presentation. The agenda will be a little bit more agile. We will course correct as we go. It will be a mixture of Phil talking, some interactive sessions with the breakout rooms. We decided not to use Slido. Feel free to ask your questions on a chat. I think it will be much more simple. And of course, we will have some time to ask these questions to Phil. What we will aim for, and we will try to conclude the, let's call it official part around 6 p.m. We will then start recording. And after that, we can just continue with an open discussion based on whether there will be questions, etc. So let me welcome Phil. Today Phil Abernathy is our guest speaker. Phil is a global expert in business agility with over 13 years of hands-on experience in the field, crafting and leading large-scale Agile transformation at companies such as Suncorp, IBM, Honeywell, Aerospace, and WFS. With 35 years of experience in blue chip companies all over the world, Phil is the owner and founder of Purple Candor, an international company focused on enabling leadership excellence and business agility transformations. Today, we will learn more about digital transformation, future of remote work, major organizational challenges, and more. What Phil will highlight in his session, while pointing out what leaders, people, and whole organization need to consider. So Phil, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Without further ado, the stage is yours.
Okay. So I don't have a presentation. We have a little poll as well, which we'll run in a moment. So I'm just going to talk on the subject of the cuts that I sense are coming. So just to give you a little background, I was doing a major transformation program with World Fuel Services last year. And towards the starting of this year, it was, it had reached a stability level, so it was less hands-on. And I'd started a startup of my own, which has a global team. We're about 18 of us at the moment. And I'm playing the CTO and chief product owner role there. So that keeps me very busy. So the timing was perfect because as soon as COVID hit in March, I think it was March 6th, I came back from the US. And on March 6th, I think March 7th, Bratislava closed down. And March 6th, I came back. So I didn't have to do quarantine, but everybody had to do quarantine after that, after March 7th. So I was very happy. The last 4 or 5 years of my life have been just crazy traveling. So I was happy for the first time in my life. I think I've been for more than 2 months without travel. So that was good. But what happened is we started using Zoom with all the clients that I work with. I work with about 5 or 6 clients around the world, globally, from Australia, Singapore, USA, Europe, etc. And I started asking them questions. What's happening? What's the change happening? In the first months, I would say the first month, everybody were like in shock. It was just like, we're just managing how to do it. And some companies felt the pain immediately. So the first thing they did is they let all the contractors go. Yeah, because you have to control the cost. You just don't know where it's going. Then they were busy. All the transformations were stopped. That's another thing. And they were busy with keeping operations of the normal business remotely. Because for most companies, the processes are still paper-based. They still have paper. They're not digital. Forget about automation. Automation is another word. This is about just having a paperless process where you can have a workflow or a computer system that can do it. So if you want to process an insurance policy, process a refund, process an investment in a bank, all these things. I called my bank. I wanted to make an investment with them. And it's a bank here in Bratislava. And I said, you know, the market crashed. And the golden rule is when the market crashes, you buy. When the market is doing well, you sell. That's the rule of investment. So I said, immediately I have to buy shares in just the top big 5 companies. So Apple, Amazon, Facebook, you know, companies like that. You buy the top 5, you cannot go wrong. Yeah, we can't do that. It will be at least 2 weeks. Then you have to come to the office on, you know, 27th of April. Then you have to sign the form through the window. And they didn't take my investment. And like this, they would have been doing it for thousands of people. They just lost business. There was another client of mine who has actually with WFS, and I can proudly say that, they started the transformation 2 years ago. So when everybody had to work from home, they were able to just switch off and go remote straight away because the applications had moved to the cloud. The telephony was in the cloud, and they had online order processing and delivery, fulfillment for a fuel service. So this is trucks of petrol and diesel and fuel oil, etc. The competition did not have this. So what happened? They grew their business in the UK by 30% or so, just because the competition needs to buy fuel and the customers need to buy fuel, and the competition doesn't have an online system. So it just gives an example of how some companies benefited from it and others not. The other message that I was getting from the CEOs and the CIOs that I was talking to is that now there is no other choice but to digitally transform. So what does digitally transform really mean? Because it's a big word. So it's got a couple of components. I think the first component they were talking about is process automation. That's, you take away the paper, you somehow scan it, you push the documents through a workflow, you have a computer system where you can, you know, communicate with each other. That's the first part of digital transformation. The second part is that you're able to have remote working. That means you've got the right tools, the right processes, the bandwidth, the network, telephony in the cloud. It's so important. If you've got this old PABX, you know, the telephone call center with the PABX in the office, you can't go to the cloud because the minute you go home, you can't transfer calls easily. So it's simple things like this. The third part is, of course, the way that teams are structured, the way people work, the culture of the organization. That's also part of digital transformation, because just changing the applications to the cloud and infrastructure to the cloud, yeah, that's not going to help. So these 3 things are starting. People are saying, oh, we have to do it. The second message I got was, oh my God, thank God this has happened, because till now we couldn't cut costs. Now, this is very interesting coming from C-level people. They are saying that we knew we had to cut costs because in the last 10 years, companies have got, since 2008 crash, fatter. And it was almost impossible to say we're reducing cost because they're making money, which is good. So now the pressure is there to actually say, we do need to save, we do need to reduce cost, and therefore we have the burning platform. The third thing is that they found that all of a sudden, people can work from home. Not a problem. Yes, the first week was difficult and everything, but suddenly the business was going on. Processes had to be changed. I don't know how many of you ordered things online in the first weeks. Did anybody order stuff online in the month of March? How was your experience? Share it with us.
It took very long.
Yeah.
It took 4 weeks. I received some goods from Germany.
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Even better, to order from Tesco, the very first delivery date available was 4 weeks time or something. So imagine I need a carrot for my soup.
Yeah, yeah. You have to wait 4 weeks for the carrot.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just a disaster. I tried ordering some things as well. Either you couldn't get through, the website was not working, you couldn't pay properly, they couldn't deliver it properly. Now it is a bit better. Now things have started working, they've learned how to do it a bit better. So I think people are learning that, yeah, we can actually work a lot from home. Now, if you look at, imagine you're running a company of your own. It is your company. And sales are dropping in some places, not all places, some places it's going up. But in a lot of companies, the sales are dropping because it's closed. And you have to cut the cost because the difference between the revenue and the cost is your profit. So if this is coming down, this has to go down. Your cost has to go down. So what do you cut cost in? There are two things that are some of the biggest costs in a company. Number one is people. Number two is real estate. This is offices. Because most companies have signed 5-year and 10-year office leases. And these are very expensive commercial contracts. So if you can save 10 million a year by cutting half the space you need, then it goes directly to your bottom line. That means it's a profit. That 10 million is directly a profit. The other thing is the people cost. Okay, so they've reduced the contractors. They've not hired any new people. So they've frozen all new hires. Now, just those two things together, plus they've given people who wanted retirement early. So if you combine those three things, contractors, early retirement, and no new recruitment, you immediately can reduce 30 to 40% of your new turnover, your new staff cost. Because in most companies, contractors are somewhere between 20 and 40% on average. Then there's people who are to leave in the retirement bracket. That's about 5% to 10%, maybe 5%. And then there's always a backlog of people we want to hire, which is about 5% to 10%. So straight away, they started saving there. And those are the three things that I found: real estate, people cost, of course, travel. Travel is completely gone. So they saved on travel as well as another big cost saving. And now the question is, but how long can we do this for? What do we do going forward? 2 months, 3 months is almost over. What happens? And at this point, I'd like to stop and take a quick poll to see what would you like to talk about.
I'm going to end the poll now.
Yeah.
And here's our results.
Ah, great. In the first place is co-location, just as we expected. And then we've got organizational restructuring and agile transformation. Good, good. So let's talk about co-location. And then the way we want to do it is I'm going to talk for 5 minutes. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms so we can talk among ourselves and see what are the areas so it can be interactive. So I just published an article in LinkedIn. I'm not sure how many of you read it, about the future of co-location. And what is quite funny about co-location is I was one of the champions in IBM that was very much in favor, together with the Agile Transformation, about bringing people back to the office, so co-locating, because working face-to-face, as many people know, is fantastic for innovation and everything. But also that went to the other extreme. People were told, it doesn't matter if your team is not there, you still need to come to the office. Yeah, that does not make sense. But in many companies, they followed this process, and people were very unhappy about it. And now all of a sudden, I'm finding with remote working that a lot of the remote teams are actually showing higher productivity. Now, Marianne, I'll go back to your earlier comment. It's not about the teams that didn't know each other. The teams that were already formed into small Scrum teams or Agile teams, they're able to work productively remotely. The teams that were not in an Agile formation and they had to work with different people, they are struggling with productivity. But also remote working is causing a lot of problems, as I said. It's causing the problem of people feeling lonely, feeling difficult to motivate yourself, missing the interaction, and also losing the engagement with the company. You lose the engagement with your company if they're not helping you on that journey. So I posted I think it was 6 tips that I had on how to work remotely. What I'd like to do is, before we talk about them, is actually to hear what you all think is the current state and what are the pros and cons of the future of remote working. So right now we know what is the status. Okay, that's fine. We all have to stay at home. That's fine, but that will change. That will change in June, July. We're already in June. I think after the summer holidays, for sure, almost everything will be back to normal. So what do you think will be the balance of remote working, co-location, etc.? So I'd like to take 7 minutes in your breakout room. So it's 22 now. We'll go to 5:30 and it will automatically split you into breakout rooms. And Tom, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, so now I'm going to send everyone into breakout rooms, and there's an automatic timer that you'll see how much time you have remaining. So Phil, just remind us one more time, what's our topic for the breakout room?
Well, the topic is, what is the future of co-location or remote working? What are your views on it?
All right, opening the breakout rooms now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. I think everyone's back. We've got about 33 people now. Yeah. All right. So I was just wondering if, I was with Veronica and Ricardo. So is there any other groups that would like to share just 30 seconds of what your topic was? What was the main theme of what you discussed?
I can try and share what we discussed. Basically, I think we kind of reached an agreement where we said that when we talk about remote working and when we say the benefits, it should also include what in economy is called as positive externalities, right? So the fact that I'm not creating traffic, the fact that I'm not creating pollution, this is never taken into account, right? When I'm going to the work, and this is a fact, right? if I'm on the street and I'm using my car or whatever, public transport as well. So that should be also taken in consideration in order to weight kind of the advantages or the disadvantages. But I think the agreement that we kind of reached was that nothing works 100%, in the sense 100% remotely, it's hard, and maybe 100% from office is hard. And probably the best skill is like to be, and it's going to be probably even more in the future, the adaptability. So let's be agile and let's move between working from home and working from office as needed, and try to maximize, let's say, based on our needs, based on the company, and so on and so forth.
Anybody else? Other groups?
I can go next if it's a fine.
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll take the next one. Yeah.
Sure. So in our group, we mainly pointed to two items. One was communication, and second was leadership strategies. Regarding remote working, we discussed the fact that in future we are going to discover new form of communication or new tools of communication that can help us to stay agile or do agility. As you correctly mentioned, we all know that the best way of communication is face-to-face communication. Nowadays, we can see that new tools are coming to picture. Zoom probably is the most known ones. But in future, we will see more innovative or more new science fiction tools that we never have ever heard about them. Just imagine you would use hologram to have your boss in your room, and you can just literally use your body language and literally talk to him face to face in that way. It might sound scary, but yeah. And
and actually, Marian works from his bedroom. So as he says, his boss will be in his bedroom.
Yeah, that's true. And the second topic that we discussed was the strategies that leaders should take into place and lead the employees in toward the more agility. Like how many huddles, how often or how structured your communication is through with your employees. How many weekly huddles do you have? Do you have daily huddles? The processes, everything will be changed around working environment. So these were two items that we technically discussed, and I was with Katrina and Suhui on that breakout room.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's more like the science fiction gets into reality that we saw in the movies, right? So how they communicate, they see the holograms, they see the people like he's next to me, but we know that he is 200, 300 kilometers from me. And but the leadership style definitely. So thanks Farzad for mentioning that. But in my opinion, it's also, we need to be careful with the secure modern networking infrastructure. So if you are talking about the costs of decreasing the cost for resource, you have to increase the cost for network and security, because you want to be sure that no of the data, no communication, nothing leaks out, right? So that's what we discussed in the group.
Yeah, that's great. There was someone else who wanted to share something.
If I may, I shared with Chance in my room my observation that for our for our stories, best.
That is one of the challenges of working together.
Yes.
What a wonderful job.
For us, the solution was like either we all work from the office or remotely, but we are all on the same page as a team in the same situation. So for my experience, the worst case scenario was like half of the team from home, half of the team in the office. That was a disaster. Surprisingly, all of us working remotely, for my current team, this is working surprisingly well, and I will fight for my guys to let them work this way if they prefer it this way.
I think that's a very important
with my management.
I have found exactly the same thing with all the teams. You either work, fully at home, whole team, or whole team in the office 50-50 or something like this. Yeah.
What we discussed in our team was that there will be an initial maybe enthusiasm from companies, yeah, because they see some cost saving, and they have to do some cuts because they are losing some revenues. But sooner or later they will realize that there are some negatives, some disbenefits to working only remotely. So body language, personal communication, what we call osmotic communication, and so on, motivation, that sooner or later probably we will see some sort of a hybrid model, a combination of the two. As Aneta, I think it was Aneta mentioned that if we combine it, the worst case is combine half of the team working remotely, half of the team collocated. So they can work remotely as I see it. And from time to time, the full team should meet physically just to enjoy the benefits of the physical contact, the body language, the emotional side, and so on.
Yeah, the bonding.
Yeah, we missed that. I think one of the things that will be there is that for individuals, for you and I, not companies, there is going to be a great opportunity opening up as well, because now you can get jobs which don't have to be near your house. And this makes it so much more easier to look for jobs in different parts of the world, over anywhere. And what will happen is companies that do not engage and keep a good culture and keep their employees together, they will lose employees like that. And people are still hiring, and every one of us must do two things always. We have to use this opportunity to improve ourselves. That means learn. Nowadays, the amount of free courses that are available, it's just amazing. So do the online courses, even, I know it's not as good as the face-to-face, but do the courses, learn. And the second thing is, we have an opportunity now to look outside our comfort zone. I have people from Ukraine and Poland, and even one person from Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar. He's working on my team. And it's fantastic. I mean, they can be sitting anywhere, technical experts, process experts, business experts, and you can look. So I think companies will soon realize that actually employees have more opportunities and they need to get their act together.
One thing which we have been discussing is whether the leadership is ready to let go.
That's a good point, Leah. What do you mean by let go?
Meaning when you have people in the team directly collocated with you, you are pretty much aware of how much work everyone is doing, whether they are sitting there and at least staring at the screen, if not working. So when they are, like a colleague of ours said, when they are working from home, how they are sure that this guy is going to work 8 hours a day.
Yes.
You are not sure even if you are in the office. Yes, but are they ready to become servant leaders? Are they ready to become non-micromanagers? Some of them definitely
they
not.
will suffer very much. It's going to be bitter lesson for them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think so. You can't micromanage from far away. Yeah. So leadership style will have to change. I think a lot of people were also asking one of the questions, since just in the interest of time, we have only 15 minutes left. People were wanting to talk about Agile Transformations as well. I think most people in the IBM community and even at ING are aware of the models, and we've got Katka on the line here as well, and she was part of the Accelerate program, which is small teams, keep them small. What I found, one thing that I've learned in the last 3 months, and this is quite interesting. Originally we said 7 plus or minus 2. So somewhere between 5 and 9 people is a nice size. But I'm working perfectly with 2 people and 3 people teams. What I call micro pods instead of squads. And it is working so well. They're working together, they're talking together, they're bonding together. And then they're a part of the team. So we still have a squad concept, but the actual ticket that they work on, when they pull a Jira ticket or they pull a piece of work, they collaborate at a very small pod level. They decide how to switch pods. So they say, yeah, this week I'm working with, yeah, let's say with Marianne, and next week I'm with Tom. And that's okay, as long as it's in the same sort of tribe or squad. So any thoughts on that, on working with small micro teams?
I think it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. I work typically on large ERP implementation, which are part of those fat organization. But even cutting down the fat, it will be hard to imagine projects smaller than 30, 40 people.
No, I didn't say projects smaller than 30, 40 people. Our project is 20 people.
Okay.
So, and then this is a startup. Huh? So I'm talking about the pod within the project. Yeah, you can still work and you don't need a project team of 50 people all working together.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thoughts on that? Anybody else have any experience with you know, these sort of micro teams?
Oh, we have one
I
question.
have such a team now.
Go ahead,
and it's
Anita.
working perfectly, and it's working perfectly well. Well, I dare to say that like this 2-3 people thoughts are like very natural to us as human beings for the daily basis interaction.
Yes.
So bigger team is okay, but like 2-3 people on average we choose to work with most on a daily basis.
Yes. Yes. Tom, you were saying something?
Yeah, there's a question on the chat, Phil, from Benjamin. Just wondering how to deal with the product owner and Scrum Master skills in those micro pods.
So it's a good question, because I'm playing the product owner role in this team right now. And I can tell you my life is hell, because I'm having to talk to, you know, almost 6 teams of 2, you know. So it's very, very close interaction. So for example, they pull a ticket, there's a rough idea, the ticket is only let's say it's not elaborated with detailed specifications. So they talk about it, we come together, we have a 1-hour Zoom session, and then they go away. So as a product owner, I move to the next team. Then I answer some questions there, then the third team puts up their hand. So for me, life becomes, I'm running around like a little rat in a maze. But it's possible. I think the Scrum Master is different. The Scrum Master's role is actually gone a bit more in terms of keeping the Jira, the flow working, and to ask people, have you got enough of work? So we had 3 people, the front end work had finished. The back end work was still there. So the pod is consisting of a front end person and a back end person, cross-functional team. So the front end finished their work, the back end didn't. So the Scrum Masters were trying to pull work from another funnel and say, hey, can you work on this for the next day before you can go back? So it's just become fluid. And the Scrum Masters have to keep that coordination going. So it is a bit of work. It is a bit more work, I think, when you have smaller pods. So that's a good question, Benjamin. Very good question. I didn't think of it from that angle.
So Phil, my experience, the PO role is very difficult, as you just said. You have to communicate with many people, and you need to be sure that the right communication needs to happen.
Yes.
And in my opinion, this is more the leadership of the Scrum Master, right? So the Scrum Master needs to be very organized and disciplined, how to organize the work of such teams. And also the communication is key, because you need to align, as you said, front end, back end, different technical stack. Like you have Java, you have JavaScript, you might have different stuff, right? and you just need to align it together. So it's more about the planning and the communication, in my opinion. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There is more of that. When the pieces become smaller, you need more communication and planning. But we get more throughput. So you see, that's the balance.
Yeah, I agree with Katka on this point, because in our teams we used to work like that. But what's been difficult during this time is the knowledge sharing, and also ops team is a little bit struggling because their work is not planned in advance. So when we are together at office, it was much easier. Hey, they will ask us, hey, can you come here and help me out to solve this item? So it was more easy for the ops teams. Now they need to engage in Slack, or they need to arrange a meeting. But on the other hand, for the planned work, it's much faster, and the productivity is higher for the planned work, because people already know the team, and they were faster.
So what about knowledge sharing? You were saying, is that more difficult?
Now it's a bit hard to track or understand the knowledge sharing between the team. When we were together, it's more easy. We can see who needs help, and team can easily address each other. But now we don't know, because we can't see the emotional part of the people, right? So we just engage in the calls, and we just chat, and we just ask, hey, how are you? Is everything okay? And of course, most of the replies yeah, I'm fine, doing good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That emotion is really missing when we are not connected.
Okay. Other thoughts? Any other questions? Where we've still got time on the call. Anybody else would like to discuss anything in particular?
If I may, what would you answer to the question from one of my managers? I heard recently, does a 3 people team need a Scrum Master at all?
Sorry, I didn't get that, Anita. I didn't.
Yeah, the question was whether the team, the 3 people pod needs Scrum Master.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But there needs to be a Scrum Master across the group. So whether that is 10 people or 15 people, you need somebody, as Katka says, who's planning all this work, because you've sliced it up into small pieces. So now it is like, all the tickets are floating around in the goulash sauce. So who's doing it? You have to keep a track of it, otherwise you're gone. So you can't put the Scrum Master in the pod. They have to sit outside coordinating the pods.
So mainly we are talking about a very small group of people, 2 to 3 people that are fully self-organized, and they can definitely get 1 to 100 by themselves, while they are still part of the larger team, and
yes.
and the Scrum Master is on top of those
yes.
small pods. Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. And if you need, for example, my big challenge in the project I'm on myself now is to keep the UX funnel flowing, because the people are working so fast that I've only got one UX person for 18 developers, front end, back end, everything involved. So the UX person also has to be coordinated in this. Otherwise, they're building something that doesn't look nice. Yeah? Or maybe it's not the right. So the product owner plays a key role in that aspect as well, because the UX person is working almost one iteration ahead of the rest of the pod people. And the product owner has to span the UX person and the actual pod. So it's a juggling job. It's like keeping many balls in the air at the same time. Tom, any other questions from anyone else? Anybody wanted to talk about transformations? It's almost, everybody's transforming now, because this is one big transformation.
I would have a question which is more related to, what about the teams that are never going to be able to meet in person? How to address this one? How to work with those?
It's interesting, because I think if you take my colleague Jav, his name is we call him Jav. He's got a very long name, who sits in Mongolia. I don't think I'm going to Mongolia anytime soon, and I don't think he's coming to Bratislava either. So I think there will be cases where you have to be totally remote. Now, having said that, I know when I started in IBM in 2015 and 16, there were people who had not seen their boss in their entire life. The boss
Not
is
only, but they were not in the office for the entire life.
correct, that as well. So somehow, you know, people will manage, I guess, but it's not ideal. It's really not ideal. Nothing can replace face-to-face interpersonal interaction. Nothing. So, yeah.
Maybe I would call it also engagement. So how long this person can stay in such team, right?
Yeah.
And what are the techniques, how you will engage him for the long term, let's say.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Difficult,
you have a point there, Katka, that we'd have to do much more rotational work. Are you all thinking about that in IBM? Is that something on the, you know, on the discussion point about rotating between squads?
Yes, it is. It is, but
More than normal. I mean, more than normal.
Depends, because if you take the new technology skills and where you build and where you invest into strategic, let's say, applications or tools or development, it's easier to rotate between the teams and bringing the knowledge from previous team into the new team and the DevOps and all this stuff. From the perspective where you still need to keep the lights on something that is legacy, that is tricky because those skills are that unique, right?
Yeah.
That it's difficult to rotate such people because you need them still for something that is legacy and.
Well, I hear COBOL is the biggest skill in demand at the moment. So if any of you are developers, now is the time to learn COBOL. It's very easy.
Exactly.
I learned it in 1980. So learn COBOL and your salary will double. So.
Definitely. We have a couple of those in this meetup.
But it's a good programming language.
Definitely, yes. But also how you can change COBOL into something new, like Python, right?
Yeah.
For example.
I think you can wrap COBOL and do you know, functional testing in COBOL. You can move it on COBOL on Jenkins. See how that works, and COBOL in the cloud. But you know, just in terms of what are leaders and teams doing to increase engagement of remote teams? What you're actually doing to talk more to each other? You're having, you know, Friday virtual drinks? Are you what's happening?
So if I share very quickly, that's currently in March, April, and May, when it was also hard or difficult in Slovakia. This was exactly what we did, like virtual drinks, virtual having food, sharing food virtually, and also gaming. So there are a couple of groups that they had the meeting, they were drinking and gaming together. So
Okay, that sounds like fun.
What was the outcome of that?
Yeah. So Radoslav, did you organize some of that? You were saying something?
I don't know, I'm just asking what was the outcome of that meeting?
Outcome, I think also Arun,
yeah,
maybe you can share because he is exactly one of those.
We've been playing online board games. It was fun because that times were very difficult, right? The first 2-3 weeks were very difficult. So we started engaging, and I mean, it brings the other part of the people, like, you know, the light mood, and it was good. It was good. It was
online board games. So not video games, but board games.
Yeah, board games, and sometimes, you know, it's a different game. We have one person who is an expert in different games, so the person will pick, like, you know, different games every Friday.
Okay, that's
and
a good
we as a team engage, and we just join online and we play it.
Okay.
It was good. It was good.
So the answer, so far it's good and the feedback was great from the teams. If we can run it long term, I don't know, right? So
The question is more about what was the need to have it, and if the need was fulfilled.
Yeah, the
I think yes.
first rule we had is no topic on corona on the meeting, especially whatever, wherever.
It was forbidden.
Forbidden, because that was the time everyone was on the World Meters website and checking what's the count, what's everything. It was that everyone was asking the detail. So that's the first rule. No corona topic. So it really brings the lighter mood. People are making fun and that connectivity. We didn't miss. Okay, it was like re-establishing the connectivity. So the initial weeks, it was really good to get some time off of those news and that what was happening on the market.
Yeah.
So it was corona and business topics were forbidden during this time. So no business, because usually in office you have, at least we have like calcetto on the floor. So if developers and people want to have some free time, not to work, they play calcetto together and they have fun. So this is what we replace with calcetto in the office, having the online game and having fun and really no business and no such topics that you are full of the information, receiving the notes every minute on your iPhone. That's why we did it, and I think it was fulfilled.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea. Great idea. Yeah. I think keeping these corona stories out is quite useful, because there's enough of conspiracy theories and all sorts of rubbish out there. But in my team, we did the same thing till somebody got coronavirus. So one of my colleagues who's sitting in Bangladesh got coronavirus, and it's now, he's his third week, he's ill in hospital, and it's really sad. So it actually touches you when you finally realize that one of your teammates has it, and till now, I didn't know anybody personally who had it till this happened. So yeah. I hope everybody in your team here in Bratislava are well and safe. Yeah. Any incidents in IBM, Katka?
It's GDPR, so.
Oh, you can't share it. Oh my goodness. I don't want the name and phone number, okay?
You don't have to say names.
Yeah, no names.
No, I can understand. But yeah, it's a sensitive subject, and leaders have been very good, I must say, all over the world. Most companies have treated their people very well. Most companies. There's always a small percentage of jerks, but most companies have been good. However, how long can they be good? That is the question now. So what is going to happen now to as we come back in July, August, September, and people start feeling the pressure? You can't do this for too long, 3 months, 4 months is okay, and then yeah.
Let me step in here, and in order to respect the agenda, let me wrap up and officially close the first part of this session at 6 p.m. Before we do so, Phil, would you like to say maybe what you are up to, or where can people find you before we stop the recording?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me. Phil Abernathy on LinkedIn. My profile, I've started publishing articles quite frequently now, so you can read what's happening there. I have time to write. And yeah, for the rest, my information is out there. You can reach me at any time. I'd love to chat, help. It's all share now. Share freely and share for free.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me and having me over.